The report found that she was told that there were problems and issues. She didn't intervene.
How much was budgeted for this project? I mean, now we're speaking about this amount. Did it balloon at some point?
Absolutely. It started off at 216 million rand, then went to 250 million rand, and it then jumped up to more than 800 million rand, of which 550 million rand was allocated to bulking. This is the same company that didn't qualify for more than 200 million rand. Just on their pricing alone, their pricing was 174% more than what was originally budgeted for. And that's, of course, is just, people are sick and tired of seeing these
Guys, so it's been a long time I've seen this journalist, Clement Manyatela, kind of like show disappointment to the rapid corruption that goes on in South Africa. In this video anyway, I think it was quite shocking as Dean Macpherson actually exposes all of the rot that actually had been taking place in this 836 million rand oxygen plant scandal that actually took place between this IDT and Ministry of Health, I think, involving the lady I shared in my last video, the CEO, now suspended CEO of the IDT, Tebogo Malaka. And so Dean Macpherson in this video actually is exposing most of the difficulties he actually went through in trying to bring that case to the fore. He argues how he's giving details on how he was almost stopped. He was being threatened at some point. I think I even saw a comment somewhere on YouTube arguing that there's apartheid in his blood. This Macpherson and all of that, as he began these investigations and all of that, especially also in terms of the construction mafia fight he's been putting up. So the minister has been doing a lot. And in this particular video anyway, I think it's for me really interesting because it's him now speaking from his own point of view, exposing the level of corruption, the level of decay. He argues that this particular tender was blown up to 174% inflation. All right, so a tender that was supposed to, I think, within 200 and 210 million rand exploded to 800 and something million rand. He's given the details on how that happened, the processes with which that happened, and loopholes that allow for those kind of inflation of tenders to happen. And at the end of the day, we are seeing a CEO, Tebogo Malaka, involved in this, pulling probably her family into this whole mess. And now she's being suspended. Luckily, Macpherson argues that this money was somehow recovered. The donor money was actually recovered and now really being... But he's in this video anyway, he's really exposing the processes by which a tender that was supposed to be accrued to the tune of about 210 million rand was ballooned by 174% to 836 million rand, to which South African taxpayers and probably public health offices probably don't yet have these oxygen plants and all of that. So let's quickly watch Dean Macpherson and Clement Manyatela really help us expose these details, and share your thoughts in the comments.
Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean Macpherson says he'll be writing to the Hawks to enforce disciplinary action following revelations of irregularities into that over 800 million rand hospital oxygen plant tender awarded by the Independent Development Trust. Macpherson briefed the media on the outcome of the final forensic investigation on alleged corruption involving IDT earlier today. The investigation revealed that IDT CEO Tebogo Malaka and other officials failed to follow proper procurement protocol. The minister joins us now in studio. Minister Macpherson, thank you so much for making time. Good evening.
Good evening, Clement. It's nice to be with you.
So I want us to take a few steps back. What necessitated this investigation? What was picked up?
It was the revelations that were first published in the Daily Maverick, that there were concerns around the awarding of a tender to a company, little-known company called Bulking, that didn't have a credible address. It was just an apartment in Johannesburg. Directors were not known. and most importantly that they didn't have SAPRA accreditation to be able to construct and supply medical equipment, despite legislation requiring that and despite the original RFQ requiring that. And that's really what created a problem. From there, that then sparked concerns amongst the Global Fund, which was funding the project. It's not funded by South African taxpayers. Global Fund is contributed to by many countries and other donors. And so, you know, when that concern was raised, we felt it important to get to the bottom of it, because what we didn't want to do is lose that funding in discussions with Minister Motsoaledi. And I'm glad that we took the decision that we did then, because we ensured that not a single rand of donor funds was paid over, and because the contract was suspended. And the result of that is now that the project will continue, but it's continuing under the DBSA by using those donor funds still.
Some of the things you're explaining sound to me like the most basic of things. If you're going to be dealing with a contract of this magnitude, how did that pass through the processes within government? Where was the CEO? Where was the board?
Well, the boards don't adjudicate tenders or don't get involved in the operational side of entities. Neither do I as the minister. That is the responsibility of the executive, and then the board is supposed to conduct its fiduciary duty and oversight duties to ensure that everything is done correctly. But it goes beyond just those issues. In fact, the SAPRA license was found to belong to someone else, and they didn't even know that their license was being used. Bulking was only entitled to be awarded up to 200 million rand. That was their grading by the Construction Industry Development Board, but they were awarded 550 million rand. So it's very clear that the absolute basics of procurement and the IDT's own supply chain management policies were not carried out and were not followed, and where those concerns were raised to turn back and to abandon the project, they continued to plow on.
Yeah, and I suppose what I mean by the board is, because there have been reports that indicated that there's something wrong here. Did they do anything about it?
Well, you'll recall last year when I engaged the then board, I said, I have these concerns. I would like to see the documents. I would like to see the SAPRA licenses, the contracts, etc. And I was quite frankly at that point was given the runaround, partial information was given. The board at the time said there's no issue, we don't see any reason to intervene. And then only in December did they then say, actually, no, we do think that there is a problem. So
what made them change their minds?
Well, I think that they could see that the growing public anger at what was going on and the obviousness of the information that then started to come out made it an impossible decision to defend. And when I said, that the entity cannot investigate itself, that was, their answer to the problem, that they'll investigate. I said, under no circumstances can you investigate something that you're accused of doing, that we will do it and we will take it over. Then they then said, okay, well, now we think that there may have been a problem to begin with, and we will seek to work with the Department of Health to suspend the tender.
Yeah, so the CEO, Tebogo Malaka, has been fingered in this report together with other officials. What happens next? And number one, what role did they play, and what happens to them next? Well,
of course, as the accounting officer, you take ultimate responsibility for how these things pan out. The report found that she was told that there were problems and issues. She didn't intervene. That there were officials put on the bid adjudication committees that should not have been there, despite it being very clear in terms of the memorandum of understanding between the Department of Health and the IDT. And of course, the absolutely appalling state of record keeping for all of these meetings. There were flimsy minutes and not a single electronic recording existed. It may exist, might not have been handed over to us, despite being repeatedly asked to do so. There are a number of violations in terms of supply chain management policy that we believe has been taken place. And it would be now up to the IDT board who she is accountable and responsible to now take that process forward. So I met with them this afternoon before I briefed the media. I also briefed Minister Motsoaledi as well, as he was a key stakeholder in this issue as well. And they have given me their commitment that they will look at it properly, thoroughly, and take the processes forward as they may be.
How much was budgeted for this project? I mean, now we're speaking about this amount. Did it balloon at some point?
Absolutely. It started off at 216 million rand, then went to 250 million rand, and it then jumped up to more than 800 million rand, of which 550 million rand was allocated to bulking. This is the same company that didn't qualify for more than 200 million rand. Just on their pricing alone, their pricing was 174% more than what was originally budgeted for. And that's, of course, is just, people are sick and tired of seeing these escalations and, ballooning of costs when it was very clear from the outset and from the original RFQ that that's what the maximum amount would be 216 million rand.
So from 200 and so million rand to about 800 million rand.
Absolutely, and what was worse is that they had actually convinced the Department of Health and the Global Fund to accept that. And that's why I'm so glad that we intervened when we did, despite, Clement, the most horrific attacks that people like myself and the chairperson of the IDT now sustained, people trying to make the most spurious of allegations against us, political parties waging war against us. And if we had backed down then and given in then, money from the Global Fund would have gone into the back pockets of these illegitimate companies, and we would have lost that project altogether, and there would be no hope of recovering it.
Yeah, I mean, part of that political fight is that there were suggestions being made that this is too political. It's because you want to appoint your own people at the IDT and you're not happy with the people that have been appointed by the previous minister.
I mean, that turned out to be completely false. The new board was roundly endorsed by Cabinet, completely and unanimously. We have some of the best and brightest minds there. And my job is to make sure that entities work, that they deliver on their promises, that they are able to account for every single cent. And I suspect what happened is, at the time when people could see the moves that we were making to drive transparency and accountability, that didn't suit some people, and maybe some political parties who were on the back end of being asked to wage a war against me, to try and put me off or to try and stop me from investigating. But I took an oath to stop wrongdoing, not to protect it.
Yeah. Let's talk about this oxygen tender project, because I imagine these oxygen systems will still be needed ASAP. So if this project is going to continue, which institution is this procurement going to happen through now? So
Minister Motsoaledi and myself had extensive engagement on it, and I must really thank him. He's been a great support and pillar of strength to me in this process, because it straddles both of our departments, and we both wanted these oxygen plants to be delivered. So they withdrew the IDT from implementing the project. We safeguarded the donor funding from the Global Fund, and it's now the Development Bank of Southern Africa that will be implementing the project, which is a great shame, because actually the IDT, if they had done it properly, would have been able to make a management fee off of it, which is what their business model is, and been able to deliver a world-class project with the Global Fund, which might have led to other projects that they could have done for communities across the country.
What are the chances that there are some politicians that stood to benefit from this? Did the forensic investigation look deeper into that? So
the forensic investigation said that there were no links between any officials and those in the companies. But I mean, let's be honest, no one puts a company in their name. So I take it at face value that that's what's is the case. I have no evidence to suggest otherwise. Obviously, it is now, the Hawks have been investigating it prior to our forensic report. They continue to do so. This report will now also buttress that investigation. I'm not entirely briefed about what they're investigating. I respect that they need the space to do so. but that may bring up other people or other issues and other leads.
All right, Dean Macpherson, thank you so much for speaking.